at this time didn't feel like politics anymore. It felt like a late-stage reality show that nobody asked to renew, yet somehow keeps getting worse every season. Outside the courthouse, protesters were chanting "Crime Family," while Donald Trump Jr. walked past cameras like a man who still can't quite believe consequences are real. Inside the media bubble, the commentary was even harsher. The phrase "crime family" wasn't being whispered anymore. It was being said out loud, on television, with zero hesitation, not as satire, as description. And then, as if the universe wanted to underline the absurdity in red marker, Donald Trump took the stage at what was supposed to be a Hanukkah celebration inside the White House and delivered one of the strangest speeches anyone had ever witnessed in that building. Instead of reflection or unity, viewers got sound effects, literal noises, bing, bang, followed by rambling about bombs, walls, and a fantasy ballroom made of impenetrable glass. $400 million. Maybe less, maybe more. He wasn't sure, but he wanted everyone to know it was golden. Watching it back, you weren't left asking what he meant. You were asking what reality he was currently occupying. That's where Jimmy Kimmel enters the story, not as a one-time critic, but as the chronicler of a slow, methodical collapse. Because this wasn't about one joke or one viral clip. This was years of carefully aimed comedy that turned Donald Trump Jr. from a political figure into a walking punchline, not through cruelty, but through consistency. The jokes kept landing because Don Jr. kept providing the setup. Jimmy Kimmel didn't just mock him, he documented him. Over and over again, Don Jr. appeared on screens trying desperately to sound informed, confident, important, and every time his mouth moved faster than his thoughts. His hands gestured like they were trying to escape his body. He spoke with the certainty of someone who had never been corrected, and the confusion of someone who had never learned anything either. Watching him talk was like watching a puppet show where the puppeteer gave up halfway through. What made it worse was the contrast. While Trump bragged about ballrooms and imaginary victories, real-world indicators were flashing red. Unemployment was climbing, manufacturing was stalling, hiring was shrinking. The only sectors still adding jobs were education and healthcare, the very areas under constant political attack from Trump's allies. And yet, there he was, marveling at glass walls and donors like a man touring a casino he didn't pay for. Jimmy Kimmel didn't have to exaggerate. He just played the clips and let the silence do the work. One of the most brutal moments came after a series of election losses tied to Trump endorsements. While the political damage was mounting, Kimmel delivered a line that instantly embedded itself into pop culture. He joked that Trump hadn't been this embarrassed since he discovered he had a son named Donald Trump Jr. It wasn't just a joke, it was a psychological read, and it landed because everyone watching already understood the dynamic. Jr. wasn't the heir, he was the accessory, the one always trying, always failing, always craving approval that never quite arrived. That truth echoed again when Don Jr. appeared in court during a massive fraud case tied to the family business. Cameras caught him sitting there, expression frozen, like a man realizing too late that the safety net had holes. Trump himself didn't show up to support his sons. He had a party to attend. The message was loud without being spoken. And still, Don Jr. kept talking. He complained about anti-Semitism while casually smearing political opponents. He invoked donors by name, proudly reciting how much money they'd given him, as if democracy were a receipt. He referenced lawyers linked to scandal without noticing the irony hanging in the air. Watching it felt less like commentary and more like self-parody. Then came the Cracker Barrel moment. A restaurant logo change somehow triggered a full-blown meltdown across MAGA media. Trump posted an AI video of himself dancing with the mascot. Don Jr. piled on, tweeting outrage as if he were some salt-of-the-earth diner regular. Kimmel saw the opening and didn't miss. He dismantled the performance with surgical precision, calling out the cosplay, the hunting gear, the football tweets, the fake Americana. The truth underneath was obvious, a prep school Nepo baby pretending to be a roadside diner philosopher. The joke stuck because it named the con. Don Jr. wasn't just wrong, he was pretending to be someone he'd never been. From there, it only escalated. Tariff plans that economists across the spectrum called disastrous, Don Jr. defending them with the confidence of someone who had never bought groceries. Kimmel responded with a pause, then delivered another quiet kill shot. Some people were calling it the dumbest idea Trump ever had since Don Jr. himself. By then, the pattern was undeniable. Jr. wasn't the subject of the joke anymore. He was the unit of measurement. Even January 6th resurfaced in the monologue cycle. While evidence mounted that Trump watched the chaos unfold without intervening, Don Jr. floated through interviews like a man hoping history would forget his proximity to it all. It didn't. Jimmy Kimmel didn't let it. Clip by clip, the record grew. And that's the key difference here. This wasn't cancel culture. This wasn't outrage of the week. This was archiving, a public record built through repetition, through memory, through humor sharp enough to cut, but calm enough to last. So by now, when people hear Don Jr.'s name, they don't think of leadership or strategy. They think of the jokes, the embarrassment line, the Cracker Barrel outrage, the fake cosplay patriotism, the insecurity wrapped in bravado. That's what happens when satire doesn't blink. It doesn't just mock, it defines. And the most ironic part is that none of this required invention. Don Jr. supplied everything himself: the speeches, the tweets, the interviews, the tantrums. Jimmy Kimmel just held up a mirror and let America stare into it night after night. So the real question isn't whether Jimmy Kimmel destroyed Donald Trump Jr. on live television. That part is settled. The real question is why Don Jr. keeps volunteering for the role. Because as long as he keeps talking, the archive keeps growing, the jokes keep landing, and the definition keeps hardening. At this point, it's not even comedy anymore. It's documentation.